Oh my goodness. What a beautiful, beautiful day. Everybody on Twitter, everybody on Instagram, everywhere I look, people are saying AEW is dead and they are finally dying and going out of existence. I know they've been saying it for 6 years now, but it must be true this time. What? Who's texting me during the recording? Hold on, this doesn't seem right. Why has the viewership been going up since January? Everybody's been telling me they're dead. I thought they were dead. Everybody's been telling me they're dead. Jeremy, you told me they're dead. What is this propaganda? No, this can't be true. Jeremy, well, what are we doing here, buddy? I've been lied to and I'm made to look like a fool. I freaking hate you. Everywhere you go on social media, whether it's X, Instagram, YouTube, literally anywhere, you will see all of these videos and all of this content saying how AEW is in the gutter and they are dead and they are dying out and they're so excited to finally see this company fail. That is, you know, I want to get into some other stuff, but first I just want to say that is some weird behavior. To want to see a wrestling company fail, in turn, a lot of people losing their jobs, ring crew, wrestlers, even drivers who drive all the equipment to the shows, all of these people would lose their jobs, but you still have these people who want this to happen just so bad. And no, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that AEW is perfect and they have never made a mistake in their life and they have always been the best company around, because that's just, I don't believe that and I just don't think that's true. I have a lot of gripes with AEW myself. Most of my gripes in the past year and a half, I'd say, a lot of them have been, you know, kind of worked on and in some kind of way fixed, but I'm no means going to say this is the perfect product and every show is a banger, because I'd be lying out of my teeth, and I'm not one of these weird tribalistic people who think that dying on a hill for a wrestling company is the cool thing. We're treating this like gang warfare, bro. We gotta stop it. But the past, I'd say, year and a half, for me, everything changed for me at Double or Nothing 2025, which, by the way, in my opinion, the best show AEW has ever put on in terms of anything. Like, dude, that was literally the turning point for me and a ton of other people to start viewing this product again. Because Double or Nothing 2025 was the point for me where AEW finally set their foundation on who they are. Double or Nothing 2025 for me is the exact point where I feel like AEW finally understood who they are and who they were trying to be this entire time. Before that, I feel like they were just kind of messing around with a lot of stuff, experimenting with a lot of stuff. And by the way, there's literally nothing wrong with that. I feel like wrestling companies, or literally any company, just doesn't ever experiment enough and they always play it safe. If AEW played it safe and they went on the trajectory that they were going in early 2025 and before that, I don't know if we'd be where we would be right now. And I feel like the claims that AEW is dying, those claims could be a lot more true today if AEW didn't adjust and, you know, find out actually who they are supposed to be in the wrestling landscape. The number one reason as of right now AEW is on a surge and has been on a surge since that Double or Nothing pay-per-view of 2025 is because it is a different product from WWE. Yes, I don't want to say that because I know that will stir up some feelings, and people in the comments with their Cheeto dusty fingers, gamer gunk fingers, will be typing in the comment, actually, WW, you better shut up before I freaking, I'll slap your mother and, I didn't mean to say that, what am I doing? But I know saying that people will get stirred emotions over that, but one of the main reasons, and I feel like the main reason people have been tuning into AEW is because it is different from WWE. We have been told all our lives, at least for me, because I'm 21 years old, that WWE is the only way to do do wrestling. WWE does it the right way, and that is the only way of doing professional wrestling. And for the longest time, I agreed with that because I am one of those people who really only watches the mainstream wrestling. I'm not going out of my way to watch New Japan or Ring of Honor or CMLL. I have always been that type of person. I guess you'd call me a casual that really only watches the mainstream types of wrestling. And when I was younger, I didn't even know there were other types of wrestling. I didn't know what an indie show was. What the hell? I didn't even know wrestling was fake, bro. You told me wrestling was fake. I wouldn't have done anything, but I would have wanted to. So as a younger kid, I didn't know there were different types of wrestling, and when I would go in the backyard to, go on my trampoline and play wrestle with my dolls, I'd be hitting these crazy moves. I'd be thinking like, why does WWE not do these types of moves? I was hitting like Canadian Destroyer. I saw a Canadian Destroyer once on live television in WWE, and I was like, yeah, I'm still in that move for my trampoline wrestling league. I'd hit 40 Canadian Destroyers. I'd do 45 V-triggers, and I didn't even know what a V-trigger was. I was making these crazy moves, and I actually didn't know that people were putting on matches like this. I thought that I was the only one in the world who thought of putting on matches where there's 45 V-triggers and 50 kickouts. I didn't know this type of wrestling existed till AEW came along. This is how new I am to freaking the culture of wrestling. And you can call me whatever you want for liking that type of wrestling with 50 kickouts. It does get a little, too much for me sometimes. It's like, gets a little bit ridiculous, I must say, when you see it kind of 50 times in one show. By the way, that's one gripe I do have with AEW pay-per-views is you hit 5 finishers and somebody's kicking out like every single match. So like, that's for another video though. I'm gonna do the opposite of this video and say what reasons that I don't like some of what AEW does. But this is not that video, so we're just gonna move past that. I freaking blue-balled people. I can't believe this. But as I was saying, that Double or Nothing 2025 is kind of the foundation of what AEW actually is, and I feel like they found their storytelling flow, because from Double or Nothing 2025 to the All In show, my goodness, we had some of the greatest storytelling we have ever seen in terms of AEW. The dynamics between Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, two enemies who had one common goal of getting the AEW title back in the spotlight, because Jon Moxley and the Death Riders were holding it hostage for I don't even know how many months now. And people at the time did not like the Death Riders. I've always really enjoyed the Death Riders, but it's kind of recently kind of coming around and people are now starting to really like the Death Riders. I've always loved them from the start, so I mean, yeah. But ever since that show and after that leading into All in Texas 2025, and even after that, as of until now, they have kind of kept this really decent to good storytelling that I have really enjoyed, because before this, it was kind of, a lot of people had this complaint and I had this complaint too. They were kind of just rushing dream matches and things like that, and just kind of random matches on pay-per-view cards, and the weekly shows you didn't really have to watch because no story progression was happening. Let me reword that. Story progression was happening, but it wasn't happening in a way where anyone really cared whatsoever. Around that 2023 to 2024 range where the CM Punk fiasco happened and he left, and like this whole mess that has happened and everyone's explained 20 times, so I'm not going to explain it again. AEW kind of hit a low that we haven't seen since. Like they didn't have a good reputation online. They released the footage of the fight with Jack Perry and CM Punk as well, and just they weren't in the greatest spot. The TV viewers were going down. They had to book smaller venues, which by the way, I really like when they do book smaller venues. It looks really cool, and I feel like that's also another reason why they're growing again, and they were just kind of patient with it since that really low of lows of the 2023 2024 where they were in tons of drama and just really not a good rep for anyone. They were going in smaller venues and they kind of adjusted to the moment. A lot of companies to have too big of an ego to adjust to the circumstances that they are in, but AEW adjusted to the situation that that they were in. They were booking smaller venues. They were still doing big pay-per-view shows, and they were still selling good pay-per-view shows, but there were some times where the venues for pay-per-views were just a tiny bit smaller, and they were just adjusting to their circumstances. And I feel like after that CM Punk thing, they were kind of back at the square one, like when AEW started, where they didn't know who they were. I feel like they were in that position again after that whole CM Punk thing, because of just how effed up their reputation was at that point. I was still watching, but I can definitely tell the on-screen product was just kind of everywhere, and there really wasn't a direction anymore, aside from things like the Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland arc, and like the Timeless Tony Storm gimmick as well. There were definitely things that were really good, but just the overall vibe and the overall feel was just like they didn't know who they were or who they wanted to be anymore. But I feel like in 2025, that Double or Nothing leading into the Double or Nothing and out of the Double or Nothing, and as of right now, they have finally found who they want to be. Because at first they were the anti-WWE product, like the Rebel product. Tony Khan even said this on an interview. At first they were just the Rebel product, but now they are a prominent wrestling company now. So like being a Rebel product, just that would definitely feel forced. So they had to find something where they, as a product, besides the whole Rebel gimmick of the show, how they will entice people to watch the show. And as of January, you know, people have been enticed to tune into the show, on part because of what AEW has been able to do within their storytelling. Nobody has denied, well, except a few people, you know, in the IWC who say, oh, AEW matches really aren't that good, to, you know, try to be different. Obviously, if the wrestling isn't good for you, that's not your cup of tea, and that's fine, because wrestling is an art, and I'm tired of people saying, oh, I don't like this, so you can't either, and you're stupid for liking this. That has always baffled me, bro. Like, this is an art form. What are you doing? But they have finally found their groove for their weekly shows, and even collisions have been pretty good as well. Like, usually collisions, like in the past, collisions weren't, you didn't have, collision was like Rampage Part 2 in the earlier days of it after CM Punk left, but slowly collision is kind of, you know, they kind of put on some banger show, especially during the Continental Classic. My God, I'm getting off topic. What am I doing, bro? But the storytelling has gotten like a lot better and a lot more consistent. Like Darby Allin a couple weeks ago won the AEW championship, and that was on a Dynamite. That wasn't on a pay-per-view. The way he beat Maxwell Jacob Freeman, I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I was really excited for that show, to see that match, to see what they were going to do, and it kind of just ended in like, what, 30 seconds? So yeah, I'm 50-50 on, like, I understand it, like Max wasn't prepared, and like, you know, but I really feel like we kind of got a banger for the main event. But I guess a squash match will do. Darby Allin is the new champion. He's defending that thing every single week, and I really do like that decision. So far, I think it has been a success. It kind of reminds me of that John Cena US title open challenge where he was putting on bangers every week. I'm a sucker for things like that. You have the whole Darby Allin World Championship title run thing, and you have things like the Death Riders kidnapping Will Ospreay, and now Will Ospreay is kind of like training alongside the Death Riders. I'm really interested in seeing how that goes. Like, they are actually putting things in their weekly shows that people actually care about now and people want to tune in for. And obviously the final reason that AEW is where it is the in-ring wrestling. Yes, I've seen a lot of people online saying how they were told AEW is a trash product, and you know how the in-ring wrestling is nothing but garbage flips and kickouts. But then they actually watch the show and watch the wrestling and see how much of a lie that is, because a lot of the storytelling is done in that ring with rather it's an injury someone is selling, or like one of those feuds where it's two dudes who just think they are the best, so they are wrestling to see who is the best, and none of them can hit that final move to put the other out. So a lot of the story story is in the in-ring wrestling, and they aren't afraid to experiment with stuff like that too, whether it's a hit or miss and Revolution 2020. But all I can say, whether AEW is in a, you know, rise or they're in a slump, they will always have that one thing to fall back on, which is the in-ring wrestling, which always delivers. They have the moniker of where the best, say that 5 times fast. They have the motto of where the best wrestle, and I feel like that is perfect for them because in my opinion, a lot of people, yes, the storytelling is really good, but you're tuning into like an AEW pay-per-view to see what the heck they are going to do inside of that ring and how much everyone is just going to give it their A game. And you know, a lot of the AEW pay-per-views, man, in terms of in-ring wrestling, they 9 times out of 10 they deliver, and that is something they can always fall back on as a company, even when their storytelling might not be in a good place. I feel like right now the storytelling is in a decent place. There's definitely a few holes, but again, that's for another video. I'm blue balling you again. You better like it too. But yeah, AEW right now is in a very good place, and they have an opportunity to, you know, increase that ceiling that they have kind of had for a while, where it was like 500,000 viewers and 600. They can like break that ceiling and do some stuff that might even get them a lot more viewers, especially since, you know, the WWE product right now has been making a lot of fans angry, including myself, with things they have been doing. They just feel like a corporate entity. I mentioned that in my last video. Go check out my last video if you haven't, because yeah, I kind of went off a bit, I must say. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave down in the comments what you agree with, what you don't agree with. If I got something wrong, please tell me. And if you want me to make any more AEW videos, please leave down in the comments what type of video you would want me to make, what the topic would be. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. God bless, and I'm out.